At the heart of our family, friendships, or any kind of relationships we are in is conflict. It goes without saying that we will face conflict. If it's in friendship, some of the things that can cause conflict in friendship is jealousy, difference of opinions, difference of values, and that is what we want to talk about in today's episode of Talk, Share, and Inspire. We want to see if conflict is inevitable, how then can we have proper conflict management. My name is Erica Okeyo. I'll be your host for this show, and I'm joined with a friend of mine called Beryl, who will help us go through this conversation. You are all welcome. How are you, Beryl?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm good.
You look very nice.
You too. You look immaculate.
Thank you.
You look peaceful.
Me God.
So, Beryl, before we actually even talk about conflict, there are personality types.
Yes.
We are different, we see things differently, and we deal with things differently. For instance, I love to face things head on.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm extroverted, choleric to some extent. On the other hand, as my friend, I have learned that when it comes to conflict, you are an avoidant.
Sweeping things under the rug.
Yes. So tell us about your situations or places where you have been in conflict as an avoidant.
I've had the privilege of being in conflict with every place.
That's a privilege.
It is a privilege because, like we said, the problem is not conflict, it's how you resolve it.
Yes.
Because conflict is not necessarily strife, and it's not fighting. It's just a difference of opinion. It's how I see things versus sometimes how you see things.
And that can happen at school, at work, just anywhere you find yourself with other human beings.
Yes, because I have lived a longish life. I have had the privilege of encountering conflict in many places. What I've realized is, because I love peace, I'm not a respecter of closure. I don't feel the need of sitting with Okeo and having a whole discussion and deciding these are the pressure points. Once I decide you are mad.
By mad, you mean?
I do not understand where you are coming from. I will pack my bags slowly and walk away.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So suddenly, I will not necessarily sit down with you and tell you, oh, this is the places where I feel things should be done right. Because I'm just thinking, but why?
Okay, for example, I broke your trust.
Yes.
That's an example of a conflict that could happen in a friendship.
Yes.
You told me something and I shared it without, talking. Like, I shared it and we had agreed that I should not share it.
Yes.
So you, as an avoidant, you said...
My first response would be to walk away.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I have told you this, I don't understand why you're operating as a mad person. My first instinct is to walk away. My first instinct, unlike you, is not to sit down and find out why. I say it all the time. You're constantly finding out why somebody is mad.
If you do the same thing, if you broke my trust, I'd want to understand where you're coming from.
Yes.
I'd come to you and ask you, I heard you said this, or I heard you did this. Did you actually do that? Or you've been, like I'm those people, maybe they're being accused. Or I also believe that once a story is outside, it's outside me, it can always be changed. There could be so many versions of it.
Yes.
So I am the kind of, you are an avoidant. I read somewhere that people with my personality are agreeable or something like that.
Yes.
So would come, I want to find out. I want us to find points of agreeing.
As opposed to me, I will decide for you that now this one
I'm done.
It's beyond. Like you see the way we constantly say to one another, your problem is you're always trying to understand madness. My problem is I'm always excusing it. Like I will excuse your madness, but now I know how I operate. But you will try to understand
where you're coming from.
the madness is coming from. I think that's the difference. And I think one of the bad things about that is that then you end up not resolving a thing, then it occurs again and again.
Oh yes.
Not necessarily with the same person.
You have learned.
Yes. Not necessarily with the same person, but with another person. Because God is gracious to that extent that you will not graduate from a class until you learn from it. So it will be with Okeo this time, it will be with the chair next time, it will be with the table next time if these are my friends. So I will constantly not learn on how to do better. But recently, because I am blessed with fantastic friends, I have come to the realization that even when somebody is operating with quote-unquote madness, I should sit down with them, which is something that I say all the time. It's the offender who should go to the offended. The principle of God is that the offended should always pursue the offender.
So the two of us, you have I have offended you.
Yes.
So it's your responsibility to come to me and
Yes.
tell me this and this and this is what you did
Yes,
wrong.
and just going back to the principle of God, we sinned. Adam did not go looking for God. Notice it is God who came looking for Adam.
Okay.
Yes.
So those are some of the lessons you've learned
Yes,
as an avoidant.
Yes.
On the other hand, I'm not really an avoidant. If you do something wrong, I will really, really calculate, but a good number of times I'll actually come to you.
Yes, you will.
And I'll tell you, you've said this or you've done this.
Sijapenda.
I have not, I did not appreciate what you did, you know, because I also believe that it is good manners to let the person know before you let the whole world, and we'll actually go back to that. But then now you see,
There's somebody I'm
so
currently
much.
shadowing who said something very fantastic. He said, Tim, I'm forgetting his other name. He said, when I don't address it, then I let you go with a narrative that does not exist.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I'm not showing you that what you're doing is not right.
We'll get back to that.
Yes.
We'll get back to, you know, we've built so much on friendships, conflict in friendships, but then we have conflict in so many other places.
At work.
At work, with our families.
In church.
Have you had conflict at work? You know why I'm asking if you've had conflict at work? When it comes to your job, that is where you get your source of income.
Yeah,
that is what pays your bills. Can you really have conflict at work and not address it? Or have you had conflict at work?
You can have conflict at work and not address it.
How so?
Because you can decide to change departments. You can decide to completely not speak to that person in terms of professionalism. And that is not a good thing. Like I said, you are just postponing the inevitable. You're postponing the inevitable.
Lessons you need to learn.
Yes, you are postponing the inevitable. You're postponing you having an experience. And sometimes what I've learned is some people do things ignorantly. I know. Some people just do things ignorantly, or they're just having a bad day. So they're not necessarily, out to get you. So I think in workplaces, the beauty is, because this is work, there are clear guidelines on how to go about those things. So most times at work, people are able to navigate conflict, because if you're working for a company that is a company that knows itself, there are HR policies, how to escalate things from one place to another, how to converse, channels of communication, whether it's on email or in person. But the problem comes when conflict is seen in the family, in friendships, where there are no clear structures.
Yes, how to go about
like,
it. At least
I don't know
at
if
work,
it's only my family. We don't have like a structured way of doing like there's
that's very important to mention.
We are learning from.
I've also had people coming from let me not say I've also had.
I've seen
I come from. Let's be real.
It is my experience.
Yes, in my experience, in my family, I have seen patterns where it's very hard.
Yes.
For someone who's older than you to say they are sorry.
Yeah.
They will only say they're sorry if they stepped on you, like clearly they have hurt you. But let's say they said something that was mean, they will not say
your mom
sorry.
will start cooking for you food.
Yes, or they'll buy for you
something that you really wanted.
Yes, they will do everything
that you really wanted, except say
sorry.
Shout out to my mom. She's from a different generation. She will actually call herself for a small meeting with the Lord Jesus Christ and just go back and say, I'm sorry.
Wow.
And that is why I think, that is why saying sorry to me is very easy. Because I have seen it. Yes, I have seen it, yes.
Some of us had to unlearn the things we learned and actually relearn, new things. That is actually good manners. I, for one, when I'm having a conflict with anyone, let's say, we've only talked about the part where we are the ones who've been wronged.
Yes.
How about when you're the one on the wrong? The fact that this is actually how I think I learned how to approach people and tell them, because on my side, like looking at it from this other angle, I'd also appreciate it if you'd come to me and
especially when you have seen I have actually hurt Okeo. I have actually hurt her.
Yes, so I am those people. If I do something wrong, I'm usually very conscious of my actions or the things that I say, and I'm able to read body language or how you reacted.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'd like for you to, when you come, if you do something wrong to me, I'd like it when you resolve it. So in the same manner, I also, try to resolve. I believe that people should live peaceably.
Yeah, live peaceably with others.
Yes. So let's talk about effective communication. Like, what role does effective communication play in conflict resolution?
Big role. I think there's that formula, 55, 38, 7. 55%.
Yes, you know, the other day we had when we were talking about
Mathematics.
money, we had a 50, 30, 20, and then there are people like us.
80, 20,
mathematics just.
So 55, 38, 7. 55% is nonverbal cues. Like when somebody is speaking to you, you'd know, oof, this person is angry. Like how are they? Are they facing you? Are their arms crossed? Like, you know, those things that people do.
Arms crossed.
Yes, arms crossed means don't. Or not looking in your direction means that they are really not interested. Like just nonverbal cues. And then 38% is vocal, your tone. You know, I can tell you, okay, I didn't like how you did this. Versus, okay, you're constantly doing this. Same words. Okay, let me use the same words. Okay, you're constantly doing this. Versus, okay, you're constantly doing this. Same words, but look at the tone. So tonal, 38% is the tonal variation, the pitch.
So effective communication, the tonal variation.
Yes, 55, 38, 7. So 55% is the nonverbal cues. What you do with your hands, what you do with your face, when you smile.
But when you say that, like, is it when someone is coming to, when you're coming to tell me that I've wronged you?
Yes, effective communication. Like now both parties, whether you are the offender or the offended, when you are approaching the person who you have wronged or when you are being approached. Effective communication, 55% nonverbal. Watch for those cues. 38% vocal. Tone, pitch, variation, how that somebody is speaking. Is it accusatory? Is it, you know, with kindness? And then 7% is the words.
Let me build on that 38% of
vocal.
The vocal.
Are you shouting?
Someone told me it's not about
what you say.
What you say. It's about how you say
Notice it's only 7% of the whole
what
thing.
you say. Exactly. Yes, it's always about how you say it. You know, remember we are speaking about effective communication in conflict resolution. So it's about how you say it. And maybe this is the point where we say when it's either you are being communicated to of what you did or you are communicating to someone of the wrong that they did. It's very important to check your tone. Also, like, you know, the example that you use, that you say that I am always.
Yes, same words. Okay, you are always doing this. Okay, you are always doing this. I have raised my voice. I am banging my hand on I don't know what. But if I sat down calmly and said, you know, okay, you're always doing this. You see how you'd be welcoming to that conversation versus when I'm banging my hand and I'm almost...
also bang my hand.
Yes, you also, I need to defend myself. You have
hands and I can bang.
Yes, you must defend yourself. I'm never doing. So even you're always doing this. You're feeling the need of defending yourself because now we are fighting. We are here to fight. Yeah.
And then apart from the tonal variation and when you say it and how you say it, there's something else that even actually before you go into the words, there's being objective and there's being subjective. When I'm talking to you, I am addressing the problem and not you.
Yes, which we will go into when we want to speak about strategies on conflict resolution.
Okay.
So, and then finally 7% is just the word. So imagine 93% is not what you see.
Just everything else.
Yes, it's everything else from the words. So the words, and how to know this is that when you mute someone while they are speaking, you can always tell how they are feeling. Like if you mute any TV show or if you mute us today, are you feeling like this is...
Or by muting, you mean we are talking, but you've zoned out.
Yes.
I'm talking to myself.
Yes, you actually, because somebody is absent-minded completely. Yeah, so I think effective communication just goes back to that 55, 38, 7. If you master that, and it's not mastering the other person, it's also mastering yourself. How do you present your nonverbal cues? How do you speak? And what do you see?
Okay, yes. And, you know, before we get to strategies and talk about the place of emotional intelligence, I'm thinking of someone that you have a conflict with who you cannot address directly. Your boss.
Oh, yeah. Somebody in authority. Or if you come from families where your parents are, you know, like authoritarian and you cannot...
How do you navigate that?
I've not had the privilege of...
This is what I think. Maybe it goes back to the, you know, the one thing I love about the Bible is it has given us strategies for everything.
Hello.
Yes. And you can maybe pray and ask God to soften their heart.
You must.
Yes.
And your heart.
Yes, and your heart.
Because the problem with conflict is we usually see ourselves as the heroes.
Yes.
And the other person as the villain. You're probably also just seeing something wrongly in this situation. So the Lord actually needs to also work on your heart.
Yes, there's that. And then if I cannot come to you directly, I can go through somebody.
And Matthew 18, is it 14 to 16?
Yeah, that one recommends that I come to you first.
Yes.
Before I go with someone else.
Yes.
But I'm thinking of someone, you cannot actually go to your boss directly.
Yes.
And be like,
you can be fired.
Exactly. Yeah, so probably we can go through. You
Another
can take
party.
advantage. You can take advantage of HR, or you can take advantage of those family meetings. Office. We are a family. That's when please don't go there. We had a whole conversation on corporate politics. Please don't go there. I can see that.
Please watch that episode. It will be linked somewhere.
Yes.
Please watch that episode.
So you can always go through somebody, but I'm saying this because I believe with all my heart it is very important to address conflict.
It is
very important.
And conflict is inevitable.
Yeah.
And the first thing about conflict, you need to understand that every conflict is unique. I think sometimes we feel the need of treating friend A the way we treated friend B. But conflict is unique, and the individuals in it are also unique on how they respond. So maybe my strategies on, I will not work with my strategies on the table who is my friend.
Oh yeah, so I need to know my friends and their temperaments.
And whoever it is you are in conflict in, you need to know at work, this is this person. This is a unique conflict that has nothing to do with my friend, and now we are addressing it as this conflict.
Okay, then there's this part, Beryl, that our hearts are inevitably selfish.
Oof.
You always want to, you always want to
can
win.
know it.
So, I'm thinking of, do all conflicts have to be addressed, by the way? Do we have to talk about everything?
As an avoidant, that question is very easy.
One of my favorite people that I love to listen to is they are therapists, so they give very good points. They say that you are in trouble if you focus on forgiving things that you should condone.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
You see, for instance,
it's a way of life.
For example, let me just give a live example. You're very talkative.
Yes.
You talk, you take up space. You come somewhere and you take up space, for instance, right? And I'm extroverted, but then I come to a place and I have to read the room first before.
Yes.
So if every time that we get somewhere and
I come in and I take off.
And I'm always offended, that's a problem with me.
Yeah.
I should be...
Because you feel the need of me going in to read the room as opposed to... And vice versa. If every time we walked in, I felt like, okay, should not be reading the room. She should be just getting into the flow, because I know she's very extroverted. Yeah, right.
But then we say that one with a caution of, we are not trying to encourage bad behavior. Yes, we should tell the difference. And maybe something
what we are saying is, don't make everything a conflict.
Yes, or a point of talk. A point of talking.
This is not the police station. Every time we must sit down and discuss this thing in great detail. Every time we must sit down and discuss. No.
But
you're right.
Probably that one goes back to the point of get to know your people.
Yes.
Get to understand them, and also have a value system.
Yes.
Have a value system and communicate it. I tell you, I appreciate this, I do not appreciate this. And then I'm just like, this is how this person is, so we don't have to talk about everything.
The other question is, do I fancy them in my life or not? Because the other option, you would just go because I cannot condone this, then don't make them your friend.
Yes.
You have the option of that, especially when it comes to friendship. When it comes to family, it's a different ballgame. But for friends especially, if you feel like you cannot take Okeo, not because she's bad-mannered, but just because she's a person who takes over places, then find people who do not.
Yeah. You know why I'm saying that? Because sometimes you can make our relationships very strenuous with too many boundaries and cautions, and we have to talk about everything. And
talking points.
As I've said, it's always a police station.
Yes.
You every time you hang out with me, you're like, she is going to call me in the evening and tell me the way I said this, and it does not have to be like that.
My tone.
Yes.
Suddenly people do not want to hang out with you, and you're wondering why.
Yeah.
People are not inviting you to places. Maybe you should check how you have been handling conflict. Yes.
And then now let's go back to emotional intelligence. How has emotional intelligence really helped you as Beryl in conflict resolution?
Do I tie it down with strategies of conflict resolution?
No, let's just first of all talk about
intelligence. Emotional intelligence is just understanding your emotions
and having control
and managing them. And beyond that, also understanding the other person. And now it comes to, that's now empathy, understanding the other person's emotions and knowing how to respond to them, because you cannot manage any other person other than you. Knowing how to respond to them, like when somebody says X, they actually don't mean it. It's just a light joke to them. I joke about death all the time.
How so?
It's when people are very afraid to speak about death in terms of a light moment. Yeah.
So
Like
those people keep saying, when I die.
No, I will send a
Sing
meme.
this song.
I will send yes, I will send a meme that is hilarious, and somebody is like, oh, we don't joke about death. Yes, and I'm just saying, how do you respond to Beryl's freeness with death because she has had the privilege of experiencing
So that's
it?
my responsibility. Like, is it my responsibility to balance my emotions?
How you respond to it, because I will continually share memes about death. So emotional intelligence is understanding your emotions and managing them, and then understanding my emotions and responding to them, like knowing how to respond to these emotions, deciding whether to mute my WhatsApp status and or.
Oh yes, yeah.
because
I love that. There's that angle, and then there's that side of
now responding.
emotional intelligence. Like, as I'm talking about me, who's been offended.
Yes.
When I have emotional intelligence, I will learn that when I am angry, I become agitated, and it's very easy for me to shout.
And I can say anything.
Exactly.
Yes.
Is that what I do?
So when you're angry, you step away from the
retreat.
conflict for a minute.
Yes,
Not for, guys, don't confuse this for ghosting. Exactly. Do not confuse. We are not saying you ghost anyone. We are saying
retreat for
just
a minute.
because you know
Calm
you
down.
are very hot-tempered, you calm down. And if you know you're those people who retreat for forever, you know now it is time. I will give myself 2 hours and then I will go speak about it, because you find solace in retreating. If you're people who sweep things under the carpet, you will tell yourself, I have one day to sweep this thing under the carpet, and then I have to go address it. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because one thing I also learned, like when it comes to romantic relationships, conflict resolution in romantic relationships, sometimes people have the problem of being quiet for too long.
Yeah.
That even as you're taking space, take space, but with boundaries.
Reasonable
Yes,
space.
you cannot take space for, you cannot, take time out for 2 days.
How are we not speaking in the same eye?
Yeah, so just balancing emotional intelligence. And I think this is the time to actually talk about strategies of conflict
just
management.
because you mentioned it, viewers, you really need to know how you behave when you're happy, how you behave when you're sad, how you behave when you're angry. You actually know. How do I behave when I'm in abundance? How do I behave when I
How do I behave, or how do I feel?
How do I feel? Okay, how you feel and behave, because you are emotions,
my feelings
and then
relate
you
to my
manage them.
behavior.
Yes,
Okay.
and then how you manage them.
All right, okay.
Yes, because we cannot be working in a space because your family members have made you angry. Now today the office is on fire because Beryl has been,
Beryl is having a bad day from home.
Beryl is having a bad day from home now. Everyone is afraid to even come to your office. You need to understand your emotions and manage them, and then also respond accordingly. Because you see, something that you guys constantly tell me, when you're shouting at me, I do not shout back. I just shout. I'm like, I am responding to this shouting by calming down, because if it is shouting, we all have voices to shout.
We can shout if you want.
We can even write the book on shouting.
Let's decorum.
Yes, but you are choosing. That's how now you're responding to the shouting from the other person, to go like, okay, I'll not meet them in their madness. Never argue with the fool. People might not notice the difference.
So let's go to strategies as we
wrap up
this conversation. Let's go to strategies of conflict management, and I want you to base on things you have learned from your own experience.
Yes, I think one of the best ways to manage conflict is using CALM. CALM.
Hey, started with mathematics. Now we have the CALM is no longer calm. CALM has abbreviation. Go ahead.
Once again, it is the Lord. So CALM, I think the first thing is to initiate connection. Like to sit down with this person, like we said, to go to the person and find out whether you are the offended or the offender. Like to just, if you're going to apologize, contact, like the Bible says, first meet with the person. Stop telling everyone about this conflict except the person who you need to speak to.
Oh yeah, please say that again and say it slowly for anyone who missed it. That stop telling what?
The whole world. I'm in conflict with Okeo, but everyone else except Okeo knows that we are in conflict. Everyone else except Okeo. So the first thing, establish connection.
And it's good to mention that is actually a biblical principle.
Yes.
Let them know.
Yes.
Before you let the whole world know.
Yes. And then the second thing, A, is for assess. And assess is basically let everyone give their point of view.
Okay.
So even if I'm the one who's trying to resolve the conflict, I don't come with main points only. This is the way we are going to do things, and it is what it is.
This is how I was offended.
Yes.
And I came here to tell you how I feel.
Yes.
And you're done.
So after I have said how I was offended, or after I have apologized, you need to let the other person also tell us where they're coming from. Listen to the POV of the other person very clearly.
But Beryl,
objectively though.
Yeah, before we actually, I think it's important for us to clarify on, like, when you're listening to someone else's POV, I'm thinking of what happened to just, I'm sorry, you're just sorry, but, you know, I feel like, would that be, I'm sorry, but?
No, I'm saying, I'm the one who's been offended, right?
So you've come to me?
I've come to you. I'm not sorry. You have offended me.
Okay, yes, okay, I get the difference.
When I'm coming to tell you how I've been offended, I should let you, as the offender, also give me your POV of that offense. Because maybe I didn't even offend you. Maybe I am carrying a hurt. I recently just had conflict with somebody else, and I'm now projecting it into this relationship. So sometimes actually the offender is not even the problem. Sometimes you are the problem. So as you're coming to assess, you need to be very willing to listen to
open-minded, calm down. Okay.
Listen to the other person's point of view. Like, where are they coming from? And then actually when you're listening in, actively listen. When it goes back to the 55, 38, 7, look at their body language, listen to how they're saying things, listen to their tonal variation, listen to the words, actively listen. So that is L. And then finally maintain. Maintain is where we come up with a solution that is agreeable to both parties. Because like I said, the problem with conflict, negotiate your terms where both parties live happy. Is it going to be hard? Yes. But you will come. We have had conflict with OKO before, and we resolved from that conflict on how to move forward.
Yes,
then that means henceforth, if we ever encounter this situation, we have guidebook. We have a space where we can run with. So calm. First, initiate contact. 2, assess, which means listen to both parties should give their POV. And L, listen. And finally, the goal is to fight the problem and not to fight each other. The goal is to unite. The goal is to be better in terms of how you relate to one another. So I think use calm.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was a very informative and insightful conversation on conflict. At least so far we have deduced that conflict is normal.
Yes.
If it's fighting, we will surely fight. But you have to fight a good fight. I hope you got 1 or 2 strategies on how you can move forward from here. May God bless you, and please catch us on our social media handles displayed down below. And I can't wait to see you once again in another episode of Talk, Share and
Inspire.
Bye-bye.